Okay, let's talk about harmonics. Okay? Harmonics. For whatever reason, the first thing that's coming to my mind is the remembrance of a piece of information I picked up along the way. Now, harmonics is in here because there's a way we can slice the astrology chart in order to correspond with harmonics. And when I say the reason this is in here, it's because this came from my astrology oracle bucket. If you haven't watched my readings before, here's what it is. It's a bucket full of probably over 200 energy, including astrology energy and other energy. So I asked my bucket what would be most helpful topic for us to do a reading on. And here we are looking at harmonics. And one thing that I learned was there's a certain harmonic, I want to say it's the 11th harmonic, which is the frequency that breaks apart cancer cells. So it's the frequency that creates unity, because a cancer cell is a cell that's gone rogue, that's gone off on its own, and it has its own agenda that doesn't regard the community of cells surrounding it in its functioning. And we sort of want all our cells to be in consideration of all the other cells, right? This is how we create harmony within a community. And so if we look at that in terms of mathematics, there is a way to break down our lives through the astrology chart into harmonics. And if you look at the 11th harmonic, I'm fairly certain it's the 11th harmonic. 9th harmonic is coming to mind, but I think that's something else. But if you look at the 11th harmonic of your chart, I think it'll give a lot of clues as to how to create harmony in your life. Okay, so that's one thing. I had no idea I was going to say that. I just started talking and that's what came out. Now I do have a pick a card set up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 choices. But it's just one card each. And so the majority of the reading is going to be done here through the intro, which will be designed to address everybody who looks at this video. Okay? So we're talking about harmonics, and harmonics is when this community of cells is working together, or this group of notes is working together, right? That's when we look at music. Now, I don't read music personally. I'm learning. I love music, and I love creating music, but I'm not adept at it enough to talk about it as if I know what I'm talking about. But I am adept enough to know that certain notes that are played together complement each other and assist each other, right? And this is how music composers have created magnificent pieces that stand the test of time and that are moving us to our core, because all our cells are vibrating to that, and our cells just love to be in harmony. Our cells love to be in a community that is where everybody is recognized for the value they have, right? And within our bodies, our cells working together and all taking into consideration the job of each other, instead of going rogue and trying to have their own agenda, which results in cancer in the body. It's much more healthy for us to have cells that are working together in accordance with the role of the cell itself and then the role of the surrounding cells. So to work in accordance with self and surrounding cells, or energy and surrounding energy, is harmonics. And I think we can all think of a song that kind of gives us the chills, or really just resonates with us through and through, that lifts us up, that makes us feel really good and happy and safe and calm and peaceful. Can you think of a piece of music that makes you sound like that? Now, it could be nostalgia that is attached to some of that music for you, but when it's the music itself, when it's the cells, the notes working together to create that feeling within your cells, that sort of harmony is something that we recognize as feeling good. When our cells tingle, we get the chills, or we just feel happy within ourselves, or vibrant, or relaxed. This would be a state that's worth taking notice of, because in this state we are in harmony. And being in harmony can be gauged by how our body feels. So when our body feels okay and resonant with the music being played, that feeling is the same feeling that we are going to feel when we are following our flow state of being in tune with the universe and what the universe has in store for us. Okay? When we are out of alignment with what the universe has in store for us, when we are out of our flow state, it feels much different in our body. We don't feel that harmony. We will probably feel discord or anger or frustration or sadness. So I'm trying to convey the feeling of being in flow, being in alignment. When you lose track of time, right? When you're listening to a great song that's making you feel good, you might even stay in the car for it to finish before you shut the car off when you've arrived at your destination. Or you might listen to it over and over and over and over again. You completely lose track of the value that you had on time when you are experiencing this feeling. And it's the same when you're not using music, but you are still in flow, in line with the highest good of yourself and all within the universe's wishes for you, the energetic balance of the universe. This state is where we lose track of time. So did you ever get in the rhythm of doing something that is your hobby, that you're passionate about, where you're creating, and you completely lose track of time? Could be daydreaming in the shower as well, where you lose track of time. When you are in flow with the universe, time sort of slips away, because you tap into the bigness and the wholeness of who you really are, which is one member of a community of humanity, right? And when you're in touch with the fact that you're one of a community of humanity, the wholeness and the being in flow takes precedence to the minor difficulties and barriers and limitations that you may have placed upon yourself when you tried to adhere to a schedule in order to do something you didn't like. I'm not saying that at times we don't have to make sure we set aside time to accomplish things that we don't like. I'm not saying that. I'm simply talking about that feeling and getting us really comfortable with knowing how our body feels when we are in that flow state, when we have harmony. And I'm talking about this so that we can really understand that this harmonics tells us the state of our being. So when I talk about the 11th harmonic of our chart, and I talk about the energy there, if you were to play that in notes, the math that you see there in notes, I imagine it would be a very healing tone. Now, you may or may not be familiar with something called bioacoustics. And there's this extrasensory woman. Her name is Susan. Gosh, what's her last name? I'm going to have to look her up because I don't know why her name won't come to me right off the bat. The website isn't the greatest, to be honest, but her equipment and what she has to offer is beautiful. And I haven't looked at the website in a long time, so I could be wrong about that too. Anyway, she can hear the sounds coming from people through their ears and things like that. Because of that, she can hear missing notes. When something's not in harmony, she can hear it. And she developed a computer program that will help, that does help, which I have some of the programs on my other computer. It helps by diagnosing what the missing harmonies are, what the missing notes are. And then when someone is given those notes that they're missing, they heal. The issue that they were experiencing goes away. It's quite remarkable and very interesting, and she's also had a very hard time getting her information out there. Her website and her company has been quite attacked. Let me just see. Yeah, it's not even coming up in a search. That's so crazy. I know I have her in my email because I purchased some of her equipment. I shouldn't say equipment, I should say software. So let me just pull it up right here and get you her name. Bioacoustics. Sherry Edwards. That's her name, not Susan. I'm sorry. Sherry Edwards. Sharry Edwards of Sound Health. Okay, so she sells the equipment of the generators of these missing notes, but you can also get these missing frequencies from other things. Like if you're low on vitamin C, of course you can drink some orange juice, eat some oranges. How about some lemonade? If you were experiencing a high dose of mercury in your blood and it was showing up on her equipment, I would recommend a frequency that offset that, which she would also provide on her through her information. And so it's been quite a few years, but this just came to mind to talk about. So if this interests you, please look into it further. And let me see if I search Sound Health with her name, if it comes up. Sound Health. Sherry Edwards. She only has 3,799 likes on Facebook. Could you believe it? I mean, this stuff is amazing. It's amazing what this stuff does. And yet it's being so suppressed. She does have the website. It's called soundhealthoptions.com. Anyway, frequency is very powerful, very important. We all emit a frequency. And we can use frequency to affect our own frequency, okay? So her company is in Ohio. It says, bioacoustics is not medical. Bioacoustics is not musical. Bioacoustics is mathical. It doesn't say mathematical, it says mathical. Exploring the potential of math as medicine with acknowledged pioneer of vocal profiling, Sherry Edwards, M.E.D. So I highly recommend looking into that if it calls to you. her voice profiling system. She used to give away one of the programs for free for lying. You could see if people were lying. Very, very cool stuff. But anyway, I had the muscles, the flu, the beauty, methylation, nutrition. I had a bunch of her programs. It was pretty cool. Part of the deal with her programs is that when you use them, you report back to her what findings you have so that they can keep the database going and keep track of everything. But I never kind of took off with that focus in my business. I dabbled in it a little bit, experimented a few times, thought it was very fascinating, and then life took me in another direction. So that's how it went for me. But it just goes to show that there are a bigger range of things to take into consideration when it comes to being human. And we have been very limited by a system that would have us believe that we are victims to our health and our genes, and that we are powerless, and that prescription medication could possibly save us. And I would say that prescription medicine would have to admit, or any doctor would have to admit, that people are not cured by medicines like that. Maybe their symptoms are treated. And so maybe that's useful in some cases. However, we are self-healing beings. We do have the ability to heal ourselves. I know this for a fact from my own experience and the experience of many, many, many other people who are talking about this as well. And what this involves is coming into harmony with who we really are. So this involves clearing up our misunderstandings. If we're unhappy, if we're shaming, if we're blaming, if we're envious, if we feel lack, if we are sad, if we're stuck in grief, if we are punishing ourselves, if we feel entitled, if we are trying to have a power struggle to keep somebody else down and trying to convince people how important we are, if we're looking outside of ourselves for reassurance constantly, or love, or recognition, or attention, all of this is an indication that we are out of balance, and that there's a misunderstanding in our operating system that is something we can clear up in order to restore ourselves and return to harmony. And how do we know? It doesn't feel good. Just feel how you feel on any given day, and you'll know how out of balance you are. If you're way out of balance, don't be discouraged. I can tell you I was way out of balance, and it was worth the work I did to come back into balance. And it's a lot of surrender. You have all the answers within, and all you have to do is love yourself. Love really is the answer. You could be wronger than wrong, and as long as you are willing to love the part of you who's wrong, who may be wrong, you're fine. You're not going to suffer by being out of harmony. One sec, I've got a cough. So I would even venture to say that the stuff we are out of balance in is the stuff we came here to master. It's the stuff that we wanted to see what it looked like from a lot of different angles, even the wrong angle. In order to master something, you've got to know what doesn't work too. You can't just succeed or understand something and never understand what the opposite of it is, or what doesn't contribute to it, or what isn't a factor. Like, all aspects of something have to be looked at in order to master an energy. And so all of the places where we're out of balance are actually opportunities for us to understand further, to master an energy. And when I'm talking about mastering an energy, it's like, what if you play a note that doesn't sound like it's part of the music piece, but you can recover it by playing a bunch of other notes that kind of bring it back up? And that's a mastery, right? That's a mastery of utilizing energy. And that's what I'm kind of talking about here. It's like, well, because I have experienced this, this, and this, I know there's more than one way to deal with this. And here's the way that I've tried and didn't work, and here's the way that I tried and did work, and maybe I'll try a new way and see if that works. and I'll kind of experiment my way through so that if I ever have to encounter it again, I will be a much more wiser, discerning person and have a wider range of response available to me in order to proceed through the experience. Also, I'm not going to tie myself to the experience as if it means something about me. It's simply an experience I had to learn from. The experiences that I've had do not define me. I learn from them, no matter what they are. That means stigmas and judgments and these kind of stereotypes, they're all false. They're all just a stuck, stagnant way of labeling something, which can be helpful in order to understand it, but is not helpful when ultimately it limits you to a definition that may or may not be true. Okay. Now I'm going to pull some cards about harmony. Let's talk about aspects of harmony or lack of. Oh, this is interesting. We've got a time period of 4 to 5 months. And look at this. Look at this. I think there might be 2 of these. There might only be 1 in the whole bucket. And I said there was over 200, right? And that means there's a mystery. And 4 to 5 months is a time period. And the 4th harmonic. See this H? After the 4th, this is a harmonic. Now, the 4th harmonic shows us where step-by-step process needs to be taken in order to traverse the energy. 4th harmonic means that even though you see where you're going, there's a lot more steps that need to be taken in order to get there. You cannot just skip over them in order to get there. It's like if there was like a path, and there was like a bush in the way here, a shovel over here crossed over, an alligator kind of poking his head through the bushes here. It's like you have to deal with a few things along the way before you get to that place that you're going, that you see. If you tried to jump over something, you'd land on something else. Like, you cannot skip steps in the 4th harmonic. And because the rest is still unwritten, that's basically what this is, you are going to be learning something in the next 4 to 5 months that will assist you in the trajectory of where you are going and what's unwritten. It depends on if you take the steps. It depends on what you learn when you take the steps. Later on, there'll be some sort of decision to be made. Either that, or you can't possibly see where you're going because it hasn't been written yet, because you're not limited, because you're taking the steps to free yourself from limitation. There's a limitation on the steps you need to take to get free. Isn't that interesting? That's because you're not yet out of limitation. You're still in limitation, so that means you're in the 4th harmonic. There's still stuff to be done. Interesting. All right. Anything else? Now we have the time period 1 year, and I just got a whoosh of like a head rush and energy, like moving. So the process of taking the steps may take a year. You may have already been working on it for a year. And maybe 4 to 5 months left or something like that. There's a different way of looking at something that's available to you that might be beneficial for you. Break it up some other way, right? Like, is there another way you can cut the pie where it will give you a better perspective to use for traversing this part of the journey? We have hometown. Do you resonate with your hometown? Is your hometown calling to you, or is there someplace else calling to you? Is there harmony with you, between you and hometown? And is there another way to look at it? And then we've got false. I'm going to have to ask for what does false mean? What is false referring to? I'm going to ask my cards. Hold on here. Okay, false, I'm already getting, like, false is like, say someone tells you, this sounds so good, doesn't it? And you're listening, and you're like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's my cup of tea. But you listen again and again and again, and then you get entrained with it. So now, the thing that you didn't resonate with now sounds good to you. There is such a thing as being brainwashed or mind controlled. When commercials stick in our head, it's not because that has a high resonance and we're in harmony with it. It's because the energy of that repetitive jingle or whatever entrained with our energy in a false way. So it's really important to look at the more subtle vibrations. Is this really who I am? Is this resonance that I'm at really who I am? Let me look at this from another way, right? You may not have looked at the fact that the jingle that sticks in your head is actually a brainwashing. But it doesn't mean you're in harmony with it. Do you see why it's important to distinguish and allow for that? Yeah. It's a power struggle. It's like something else is trying to take over the control of how you resonate. And say it's for like a certain drink or a candy bar or something, and then, if you're brainwashed to that certain drink or candy bar, and then you go get it, and now you're a slave to that vibration, not your own harmony. You start getting illness. You know what's good for you. All right, let's see. I think we've talked about this for long enough, and you're going to have to, feel into this for your own self and what it means, what you're taking step-by-step process towards, and what is really home to you. And now we're going to look at the cards here for each pick. First, pick one. Okay, pick one. You got water your garden. Nourishment, body care, tenderness, and rest. Okay, pick one. Rest is just as important as exercise. Sometimes we've been sold on this idea that we're lazy if we rest, or it's not okay to rest, or that no rest for the wicked, or numerous amounts of ways where even commercials or television shows might have sold us on the idea that rest was something that we could sacrifice, and it's not true. Also, our body needs nourishment. Also, this is pointing you inward. This is saying it's time for you to take care of you. So if there's any place in your life where you have put something above that, it might be time to reprioritize, okay? Even if you are responsible for caretaking someone else, maybe it's time to ask for help. You are being urged to have your own back and take care of yourself fully, and cleanse and relax and be present with who you are and what you need, and establish a good relationship with your body in the process. Let your body feel like you have its back and like it can trust you. Put yourself in the serene places where you feel comfortable, where you don't have to worry about who else is around, what else is around, that you're completely safe. Get to the place where you can leave behind any of the unhelpful, limiting patterns that you may have experienced from the past, where you let others violate your boundaries, or you're expected too much of yourself, or you're sacrificed too much of yourself, or you wouldn't ask for help. It's time for you to put you first. Okay. Now we're going to do pick 2. If you chose pick 2, here's your card. All paths lead home. Inner authority, intuition, turn your gaze within. This is interesting, right? Because in our main reading, we've got that hometown. And I think what your reading is telling you is that you can't get it wrong. Even if you felt like, oh, when I was talking about how you had resonated, maybe became entrained with a resonance that wasn't exactly who you are, or that you weren't resonating with your hometown anymore. If you're not feeling comfortable or like home where you are, know that you are headed there, even if it doesn't look like it right now. Okay? It's saying, like, you know how I talked about there could be an alligator and a shovel and a bush in the way or whatever? You know, it may look like that for you, like there's some obstacles right now, but it is trying to reassure you here that you're still headed there. You know, you could look like you're way off path, or like you've passed this bush before again and again and again. It's like you're learning something different from each time you pass it, right? And those are all things that you wanted to learn as a soul. So maybe if you could make it more of a light-hearted trip where you can enjoy yourself much more, and prioritize just following your own lead. What is within your own heart? What is your own urge saying? What is your intuition saying? It's very important to not look to anybody else to guide you or lead you right now. It's very important for you to check in, maybe put your hand on your heart and ask your heart what the next step is, or what you should focus on, or what would be most beneficial for you and your body. Really take the time to retrain yourself to be self-sovereign and looking to the self for guidance and reassurance and direction. And that you are headed home. Okay, now we're going to do pick 3. Pick 3, here's your card. You got Star Keeper, Cosmic Ancestor, Send the light by staying grounded. Seed the light by staying grounded. Okay. This is basically saying, like, you have come here to ground something on earth that came from other lifetimes where you didn't live on earth. The resonance is carried within you, and you are trying to ground it on earth. So in this case, the surrounding area to where you try to ground this might not be tuned in to it yet. You may be the only thing tuned into this thing, but you know it with all yourself. You know it with every bit of your being. Other people might not agree right away. Other people might not catch on right away, and that's going to be okay. Because you are not alone. This is important. You are seeding it. So the seed is going to be planted by you. That means in future generations, sometime in the future, as time progresses, as step by steps are taken, this seed will come to fruition. So it's very important that you proceed even without all of the recognition or reassurance or calling from others. Just your own calling is going to guide you in this case. You are grounding and seeding information that is important to the advancement of our society, and it may not be easy. Okay, so this is a way for you to be recognized in that the harmony that you're going to be feeling is going to only be with the resonance within yourself. You're not going to be able to look outside yourself for any reassurances of what you are bringing here in the early stages. Okay? So just make sure you're just honoring that connection between yourself and Source. Okay, pick 3. Great. Let's move on to pick 4. Pick 4. This is your card. It says, Child of the Cosmos. The intelligence of the universe is within you. Pick 4. You can't get it wrong. When you go through your life as a curious, innocent adventurer who's going to have experiences along the way and learn from each experience and stay in tune with that pure essence of your child version, of you as that curious, pure, innocent being willing to have experiences here on earth, not holding grudges from the past, not having expectations of the future, just being in the moment as a child would. That is the gift that you are experiencing at this time in your life. So any steps that you need to take in order to get to that state are going to be most beneficial for you. Yeah. And when I say any steps you need to take, if you know that you're not able to go into an experience just curious because you've had a lot of experiences with this particular person before and they've always been mean or grumpy, so you know that you expect them to be mean or grumpy next time you see them, that's where your work is, because you want to return to the sweet innocence of a child, and a child is not holding grudges. A child is expecting that everyone is just as happy and beautiful and happy to be alive as they are. So people can grow and learn, and if we hold them with expectation for each time we encounter them, then it makes it harder for them to go into the space that we wish that they might be in to interact with us in a more pure, innocent way. So if we can hold the space for them to grow and learn and go forward with innocence and curiosity, and it doesn't mean we put ourselves at risk if somebody is proven to be dangerous to us. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying about everyday encounters where it's okay if we clear the slate from before, that we do so, because people are growing and learning, and we want to allow that for everybody. And the more places we can bring our innocence and curiosity in, the more places people can grow and learn around us, because we're not holding them back with our strong expectation. So if we have an expectation, that's where our work is. What can I do to drop this expectation? What part of me needs to be honored so that I can let go of this grudge? How do I feel in this situation? How did I feel in the past situations? Be present with that feeling. Honor, be okay with that feeling. You're going to accept excuse me, and be present with the part of you who feels anything about a prior experience. Do that until you don't have any ill feelings towards another, okay? Okay, pick 4. Now we're going to move on to pick 5. Pick 5, you are the only one that got 2 cards. Let's see what they are. Activated Earth. Power places. Ley lines, trust where you're led. So we did talk about hometown and being called away from or to an area. So this is probably the case for you. It's probably mostly you, and maybe you were drawn to other piles too, but you are being called to be in a certain area. There are certain codes, energetic codes, harmonies, frequencies at certain places, and sometimes we need to engage with those in order to proceed. So take those things seriously. And then we have trust the timing. Yes. Trust the wave you came in on. Time is not running out. So if you know that you're being called to someplace else, but it's not quite lined up yet, honor that too. There is a divine timing at play for you, and you can trust that, this is saying, right? So take the steps that you're guided to take. Trust yourself. Be sure that all your ducks are in a row so that when the timing is right, that you can make the move that you need to make. Okay? That is what this message is talking about for you. So You'll feel where disharmony is, and you'll feel what's going to happen, and then you'll take the steps that you need to get ready in order to allow that to happen, especially if it's going to be a move. You know, there are certain things you can do by not signing a new lease, or starting to declutter your belongings, or downsize, or donate, or even packing. You know, whatever is appropriate for your situation, you'll know that. Trust yourself. It's your inner calling that you're answering. Okay. And if you have a belief that says you need to stay close to home, or stay close to your hometown, or something like that, you may want to deal with anything like that's lingering as well. Okay. There we go. That completes this reading. Thank you for spending your time with me. This was really fun to talk about, and I feel like in the beginning I'm going to want to listen to that again myself, because whatever I was talking about there, it felt like it just kind of, I didn't even know I was going to be talking about that, and I love when that happens. I seem to be an external processor, and I find that when I talk about things, that they register within me to a deeper level, or a bigger understanding comes to my awareness just through what I'm saying, which sometimes I'm really not consciously aware of what I'm saying sometimes, and other times I am very much consciously aware of what I'm saying, and you can probably tell the difference of which is which. But sometimes I really do find it fascinating that something will click into place simply because I talked about it. And that's one of the major reasons why I like to do these talks, and I like to do pick-a-card readings. So thank you for spending your time. I welcome any thoughts or insights or shares that you have, that you feel called to share. And perhaps we'll see you in a future one. Bye now.